A very good evening and welcome to a brand new edition of News First Weekend, coming to you live from our News First studios in Colombo. I'm Lanka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
SB says President announced that provincial elections will be held by the end of 2018. Changes in office bearers of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. University professor appointed as General Secretary. Duvinda Disanayake appointed National Organizer. Former presidents to function as advisors. Attorney General to communicate decision on divulging names of MPs who received money from perpetual treasuries this week. Postal workers to strike from midnight today. Water supply and electricity unions on Work to Rule campaign.
Now the stories in detail. President Maithripala Sirisena has informed the Sri Lanka Freedom Party that provincial council elections will be held before the end of the year. The President made this announcement when the Executive and Central Committees of the SLFP met this morning at Apegama in Battaramulla.
The meeting of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party Executive and Central Committees was held at Apegama in Battaramulla today under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena. 14 of the 16 SLFP ministers who defected from the government during the failed no-confidence vote against the Prime Minister were also present at the meeting. Former President Chandrika Bandaranayake Kumaratunga, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and former Prime Minister D.M. Jayaratne have been appointed as the Advisory Council of the SLFP. President Maithripala Sirisena has been re-elected as the Chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Professor Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa has been appointed as the General Secretary of the SLFP. Minister Duvinda Disanayake was appointed as the National Organizer of the party, a position that was previously held by former Minister Susil Premajayantha. Parliamentarian S.B. Disanayake was reappointed as the Treasurer of the party. Nimal Siripali De Silva, W.D.J. Seniratne, Anura Priyadarshana and Susil Premajayantha have been appointed to the positions of Senior Vice Presidents of the SLFP. Issuing a media release, the President's Media Division said all sitting MPs from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party have been appointed to the party's Central Committee. We have appointed interim office bearers to initiate the party reform process. This temporary board will function for 45 days or 1.5 months at most. Within that time frame, the party reform process will be completed. Our former Secretary, Minister Duvinda Disanayake, proposed the motion to dissolve the board and resign. I adopted the motion. I have appointed Professor Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa of the Kelaniya University as the new Secretary in order to oversee party reforms. This was done unanimously with no division and no dissent. S.P. Disanayake and all the others supported it, and so he is the new party secretary. As a new secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, a special responsibility has been conferred on me to rebuild the party. The main task before us is to prepare the new policy framework and introduce a new national program with a local and a national vision which the country needs. I think the primary responsibility now is to bring the community together and have a dialogue with them on this. Through this, in the future, under the leadership of President Maithripala Sirisena, the SLFP will be rebuilt, and at the next presidential election, a government led by him will be formed. The chief responsibility before us is to organize these affairs, engage in dialogue and build public opinion on this. I think that we do not take any of these positions to be held until death. I think I do not even need a position within the party. It is our hope that it is not we who must succeed as a result of the position, but the party that must succeed. There is no problem with regard to remaining in the government. President Maithripala Sirisena is also in this government. We saw in the papers that former ministers Velgama, Pavitra and Dalasalaha Peruma had said that they were not invited for this. They were all invited at the very beginning. As per our constitution, failure to attend on 3 consecutive occasions automatically deprives them of their positions.
Former SLFP ministers who defected from the government recently said this was a first step in the SLFP's withdrawal from the national government.
Of the group of 16, Susil Premajayantha and Anura Priyadarshana are currently overseas. Everyone else was in attendance. Our chief demand was that the party positions must be changed and a proper reform process undertaken. The other factor is that we must withdraw from the coalition government with the United National Party. This was the first step in that direction for the party. We went over to the opposition because we are opposed to the government. We are not opposed to the SLFP. We hope to form an alliance with the SLFP and the other party and to contest elections under a common symbol in the future. We will protect our party. I believe that this change in the executive committee will be a precursor to once again bring together all those who have distanced themselves from the party. Changes have been made in terms of certain individuals who are greedy to keep the party within the government. My first struggle has been successful. The next struggle is removing the party from the national government.
The Attorney General's Department says that a final decision on publishing a document contained within the report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry on Bond Issuances will be announced this week.
Activists claimed recently that the document in question, C-350, contains sensitive information regarding persons who had received monetary gratification from the company at the centre of the bond scam inquiry. Attorney General Jayantha Jayasuriya said his department was looking into whether publishing the document in question would in any way compromise the ongoing investigation into the bond scam. Jayasuriya added that after studying the matter, he would communicate his conclusions to the Secretary to the President. He added that Speaker Karu Jayasuriya had also inquired from him regarding publishing the document numbered C-350. Issuing a statement, the Department of National Archives noted that the Criminal Investigations Department is in possession of the original copy of Appendix 2 of the bond report. The statement reads that these documents were entrusted to the CID following an order issued by the 4th Magistrates Court on the Secretary of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry on Bond Issuances.
The central bank bond scam is widely considered to be the single largest incident of financial fraud in the country. Information is now coming to light on gratification offered by the suspect company Perpetual Treasuries to public representatives. Several MPs commented on the matter today.
Ministers Dayasiri Jayasekara and Sarath Fonseca have already confirmed that they did receive donations from Perpetual Treasuries. Meanwhile, Arjuna Ranatunga, Gamini Jayavikrama Pereira, Patali Champika Ranawaka, Ranjan Ramanayaka, Ranjit Madhuma Bandara, Eran Wickramaratne, Manu Ganesan, Vijit Vijayamuni Soisa, Akila Viraj Karyawasam, Ranjit Soisa, S.M. Marika, Nalin Bandara, Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, Sriyani Vijayavikrama, Palita Tevara Peruma, Anoma Gamage, Hirunika Premachandra, Gamini Lokuge, Udaya Gamampila, Palita Rangi Bandara, and Rauf Hakim has stated in public that they did not receive donations from the said company. Dinesh Gunawardena and Harshana Rajakaruna are yet to provide a direct response to this query. Here are some of the responses received today to the question, did you receive money from Perpetual Treasuries? In truth, I think it is shameful to even ask that question from me. I believe that any MP who has taken money from the companies involved in the corrupt bond scam have no moral right to remain in politics in the country. My name is also with the Bond Commission, as I went before the Commission and testified against these rogues. I can guarantee that I did not receive a red cent, either monetarily or otherwise, from the rogues who broke into the economic hub of this country. Sajid Premadas and Dilip Vedarachi from the Hambantota district are clean people, and we do not need to take money from anyone to do politics. We have our personal wealth. We do not need it and we will not take it. We are not indebted and we are not fearful. We do not even know who they are. They are the ones who destroy the country. They are the ones who should be exiled from the country. We do not have a habit of taking money in this way. We came forward to help the people and not to take money from the people. I have not taken anything from him worth even 5 cents, nor do I hope to take anything from him. Allegations have been raised against 118 of the 225 MPs. If it is not divulged as to who the 118 who have been charged are, then suspicion will be cast on all 225. So it is the responsibility and a duty of the Honourable Speaker to reveal to the country who the innocent persons are.
The election was held in August 2015. The nominations were called in July of the same year. When a person who was accused of robbery comes and gives you money, those people should have said, no, we do not want the money because we too will end up becoming rogues. They have issued 166 cheques from an account at Ceylon Bank worth 1.19 billion rupees or 1,190 million rupees. They have granted this money to politicians, officials and relatives. This money has been provided as gratification for the security. As per the information that we received from the Attorney General's Department, we suspect and we believe that the names of the people who received the 166 cheques or 1,190 million rupees are in the 106 pages. Some people who worked for Arjun Aloysius have been speaking at various places and saying that their boss spent over 3,000 million, not 1,190 million, but 3,000 million. The boss is still inside. The 24 billion belongs to the people of this country. That is why we asked the President to release these 106 pages. Take the necessary steps to provide the money that is being held as well as the money of the EPF of 2.6 million people. Appoint a second presidential commission and find the money that was robbed. There is one person in the Rajapaksa family. There is a good news. There is one young Rajapaksa in this. We are 99% certain that there is a Rajapaksa. They have gathered everyone and distributed money as if they were playing a 50-over cricket match. It is clear. But what is disappointing is that the name of the chief culprit who incurred a massive loss to the country, the Prime Minister's name, is not mentioned. The small thieves have got entangled in this.
Executive Director of Cafe Kirti Thennakoon arrived at the Valikada prison complex to hand over a letter to Arjun Aloysius and cousin Palisena, who are currently in remand custody.
Kirti Thennakoon handed over this letter to officers in charge of the prison requesting the names of those who received gratification between the 1st of January 2010 and the 31st of December 2017. If these two individuals are receiving the respect and protection of members of the Sri Lanka Parliament, it is mandatory that some information on the politicians who received money is revealed. The 225 parliamentarians in Sri Lanka are in a state that they are unable to walk on the streets because as soon as they are out in the public, the media will ask them as to how much they got. This is a great injustice to the members of the Parliament, the very people who are making the laws of the country. We see this as an insult to the Parliament of Sri Lanka. This should not happen. If they could give away money like Saradil and Robin Hood, why can't they reveal the names of those who received this money? Then the country can be free of this worry.
The CBSL bond scam, the largest financial fraud in Sri Lanka's history. Economic analysts suggest the country may have a projected loss in excess of 600 billion rupees. Allegations are abound that 1.19 billion rupees was paid out as gratification to MPs and officials. The public want to know the identity of those responsible for stealing this large sum of public funds. Did Perpetual Treasury's owner Arjun Aloysius and his father-in-law, former Governor Arjuna Mahendran, receive all of it? Or was a portion of the profits credited to the accounts of a party, an individual or a group? Who are the masterminds?
Why wasn't Kabir Hashim and Malik Samaravikrama, being the chairman and the secretary of the party, why were they not first examined at the inquiry? Secondly, 118 names had been there in the list. Why haven't the commission summoned these 118 and confirmed that whether they have taken money or not? Why haven't investigation been done on that? That is why the Prime Minister, who is on top, is avoiding bringing in Arjun Aloysius to Sri Lanka, because he has already said that I did what the Prime Minister told me to do. So this is the most important thing here, that the culprit is none other than the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka.
Senior lawyer Gominda Astri says the law can be enforced against those who received money from perpetual treasuries. The Astri made this statement in response to reports that conflicts of interest do not constitute a premise to go before courts.
There are some who argue that there are no legal provisions to deal with conflicts of interest. This is completely false. I can give you two examples.
No man can be a judge in his own cause.
This means that a judge cannot sit in a case involving family and friends. There is no written law, but in such a situation, any determination given by a judge is automatically quashed. There are such legal fundamentals and traditions which are not necessarily spelled out in written law. Another example is this. Imagine that a prison officer takes a loan from someone in his custody for whatever reason. Can he do such a thing legally? No. Although it is not in written law, it is still an illegal act and he can be held accountable on charges of bribery and corruption. Although there are some, especially public officials, who are saying otherwise, I say with conviction that they are misleading
The hearings of the Presidential Commission appointed to investigate alleged irregularities that took place at Sri Lankan Airlines, Sri Lankan Catering and Mihin Lanka will commence tomorrow. According to the Secretary of the Commission, Adidasa Kure, the company registrar and another officer have been summoned to provide testimony at the first hearing scheduled to take place at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Kure added that over 44 complaints have been lodged in relation to the discrepancies that took place at Sri Lankan Airlines, Mihin Lanka and Sri Lankan Catering Services. Also in local news, the Audit Service Union has expressed their displeasure over the continued delays in holding the parliamentary debate on the long-awaited National Audit Bill. The union's president, K.N.M. Kumarasinghe, said a plan is afoot to keep delaying the adoption of the bill by subjecting it to repeated revisions.
The National Audit Bill, a key pledge of the Yahapalanya government, was to be adopted within the first 100 days of this government coming into power. While the National Audit Commission was among the independent commissions mentioned in the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, members of the Commission have also been appointed. Since then, the National Audit Bill has been revised more than 20 times, and although it has now been presented to Parliament, a debate is still elusive. Unfortunately, 2 amendments have been proposed to Cabinet to the bill that is before Parliament. One was from the Public Service Commission and the other is from the Prime Minister as the Minister of Economic Affairs. Amendments could have been made over the past 15 years. Over the past 3 years alone, this has been amended on 25 occasions. Against this backdrop, what provision is there to subject this to an amendment by Cabinet once again? Can the Cabinet supersede Parliament in this matter? In March 2015, the then Prime Minister, who is still the Prime Minister, pledged to adopt this bill swiftly. Today it has become a broken promise. Several months have lapsed since the Audit Commission was appointed. They cannot write a single letter because the bill has not been passed. A date has been set on the order book of Parliament. It has been reported to our union that the Prime Minister intervened directly to postpone this. Who is the Prime Minister protecting? Is he protecting the corrupt bureaucrats running the executive? On the matter of the Treasury bonds, the Auditor General acted in spite of the limited resources. If this is being done to spite him for that, or to exact vengeance by preventing him from doing anything, then we must say that this will not hurt the Auditor General or the department, it will hurt the entire country. The National Audit Bill was gazetted on the 16th of March 2018, but it has been postponed since the first week of May. One organization challenged it before the Supreme Court, saying certain provisions were unconstitutional, but the court held that it was, and the Speaker announced the decision. This was even included in the timetable of Parliament to be debated on the 24th, but it was removed. There was talk that it will be taken up this month, but we have been informed that this will not happen either. We cannot comprehend where this will end. The government acts with great haste to sign trade deals with Singapore and to amend the Kotalawala University Act and do in free education. They act with haste to change the Judicature Act and consolidate their power. These are their priorities. However, when it comes to demands from society like the Audit Bill, all of it has been postponed. This is a serious issue. That is why we are saying now that we do not have any faith in this corrupt Parliament. How can we trust them? 118 of them have taken money from Arjuna Mahendran. Newsfirst made inquiries regarding the future of the National Audit Bill from Co-Cabinet spokesperson Minister Gayantha Karunatilaka. The Minister noted that he would be able to make a statement on this following the parliamentary group meeting to be held tomorrow.
The CEB Engineers Union says that they will intensify their trade union action in protest over the failure to implement the long-term power generation plan. Its President Saumya Kumar Wadu said that a final decision is to be made next week.
After the Norachale plant was added to the central grid, the country has not received a power plant that could resolve the power crisis in the country. We have been engaged in a struggle for the last 3 to 4 years, demanding that our plans for a solution be approved. Our executive committee will convene next Tuesday and decide on our future course of action. Engineers of the CEB have not engaged in a strike since 1996. Even then, the strike was for a national issue. We don't just go into strike actions. If we do not get a solution soon, we will go for a trade union action. The Public Utilities Commission, an independent commission tasked with regulating public utilities, had requested the CEB to amend the generation expansion plan, taking into consideration environmental and cost concerns with regard to coal power plants. It is under Section 43 of the Electricity Act that we are entrusted with the authority to approve the power generation plans of the CEB. Accordingly, it is a plan that has a minimum cost that can be approved. The plan changes as per the data included in it. The CB has quoted $69 per ton of coal, but in the market it is about $81. At the same time, the CB has estimated about $10 for natural gas, but in the market it is $8.4. When we looked at the plans with this new data, we see power generation through natural gas to be less costly. There have been numerous substantiated reports of the environmental damage caused by thermal power plants, including the North coal power plant. Meanwhile, the Sunday Times newspaper, quoting the Coalition Against Coal, reported that the North plant does not have a valid scheduled waste management license as required by law for a facility that generates hazardous matter. When Newsfirst inquired into reports of faults in the machinery used to dispose of toxic smoke from the power plant, authorities at North assured us that repairs had been carried out. Meanwhile, the Water Supply Joint Trade Union Alliance says the union action that was initiated by the Water Board employees with regard to salary arrears is continuing. The Postal and Telecommunication Officers Union says that they will engage in a trade union action from midnight today, citing several demands, including the failure to appoint permanent postmasters.
The foundation stone for the 746 model village that will be built under the Samata 7 Yali Pibdena Udagamana program was laid today under the auspices of Minister of Housing and Construction, Deputy Leader of UNP, Sajid Premadasa. Located in the Valveva area in Suriveva, the village, which is named Satpubutukama, will consist of 24 houses. Each beneficiary will receive a financial aid of 500,000 rupees from the Indian government to build their houses.
There are housing complexes that were built adjacent to the Udagamana that I built. What is the public secret in this area? A parliamentarian too received a house from the housing project that was built in the recent past. She is not even a citizen of the Hambantota district. She was elected to parliament from the Gampaha district through the national list. I will proudly say that I have put an end to the disgusting political culture where parliamentarians were granted state-owned land and property.
The government has responded to international rating agency Fitch releasing a report which stated that Sri Lankan banks required a whopping 19 billion rupees to meet capital adequacy ratios.
Fitch Ratings, in a special report, said that Sri Lanka's large state banks are short of fresh capital to meet a full implementation of Basel III requirements by 2019. Basel III is an internationally agreed set of measures developed by the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision in response to the financial crisis of 2007-9. The measures aim to strengthen the regulation, supervision and risk management of banks. According to Ceylon Today, the government said yesterday that all Sri Lankan banks, both state and private, were well equipped to meet capital adequacy ratios and that there was no reason for panic. Speaking to the newspaper, State Minister for Finance Eran Wickramaratne had said that the banks will be well capitalized with the passage of time. He also said that it was the responsibility of the government to have the three state banks well capitalized and that the government would be well on its way towards that target. Wickramaratne's statement does not clarify as to whether the state banks are currently in a position to fulfill the capital adequacy ratio or whether they expect to be able to do so in the future. Our attempts to seek clarity from the State Minister in this regard were unsuccessful. It is imperative that the government discloses these details to the public of this country rather than leaving room for aspersions to be cast on alleged ulterior motives when it comes to the country's financial system.
The central bank issuing statistics on the first quarter of 2018 says the external sector of the country displayed a mixed performance in March.
Exports have increased by 7.7% during the first quarter of 2018 to $2,989 million in comparison to $2,774 million during the same time frame last year. Imports have risen by 13.1% to $5,971 million during the first quarter of 2018, while the value stood at $5,279 million during the first quarter of last year. The trade gap thereby stood at minus $2,982 million in the first 3 months of this year. The value was at minus $2,505 million in the same time frame last year. Tourist arrivals increased by 24.1% in March 2018 as a result of higher numbers of tourists arriving from India, the United Kingdom and Germany in comparison to March 2017. Total tourist arrivals during the first quarter of 2018 at 707,924 was a 17% increase over the first quarter of 2017. The central bank notes workers' remittances notably increased to $678 million in March 2018, reversing the decline observed during February 2018. Accordingly, workers' remittances increased by 3.5% to $1,979 million during the first quarter of 2018 in comparison to the corresponding period of 2017.
The Colombo Library of the British Council, Sri Lanka, was reopened yesterday. The event was attended by special invitees and long-standing members of the British Council.
The libraries situated in Colombo, Kandy and Jaffna, with more than 25,000 members, have access to over 50,000 books, magazines, DVDs and resources. The membership allows for guaranteed entry to special events and activities at the library.
Over the past few years, our library has become a popular venue for events, catering to more intimate crowds with very specific interests. And we've realised over time that these events are drawing in a very interesting and diverse group of people who come here both to enjoy a performance and to meet each other. We are now taking this approach to the next level, and we will be delivering more events and activities. These activities and programmes will be included within your membership at no extra cost.
Now, recently, Sports First reported on alleged pitch fixing at the Galle International Cricket Stadium. This followed an Al Jazeera expose on the dubious relationship between unscrupulous sports gamblers and so-called pitch fixers.
Allegations were raised against the assistant manager of the Galle Stadium, Tharanga Indika, and first-class cricketer Tharindu Mendes over pitch fixing. A notable feature of this affair is the fact that 15 persons were appointed to positions at the Galle Stadium through a letter signed by the CEO of Sri Lanka Cricket, with their appointments taking effect from the time of the Sri Lanka-Australia Test played at Galle, which was the subject of the Al Jazeera investigation. These appointments were made disregarding the requests of the secretary of the Galle Cricket Club at the time, Premasiri Halabage. Tharanga Indika, who was appointed as the assistant manager of the stadium, had served as a gym assistant at the stadium for 15 years. On the 30th of last month, it was reported that the pitch at the Galle International Stadium was undergoing certain changes. A question arises as to who wanted the pitch to be changed at this juncture when the International Cricket Council is conducting an investigation into alleged pitch fixing. The timing of the decision to change the pitch raises suspicions as to whether this is being done to erase or cover up evidence of alleged pitch fixing. Who wanted the sudden change to the pitch at the Galle Stadium? Minister of Sports, for your attention.
With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Weekend Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.